But yeah, so sorry, I've slightly lost my train of thought as people sort of jumping on this chat. There's no, we didn't do that. I was about to remove somebody. Yes, so we're Saumur-Champigny, we're Cabernet Franc, and Cabernet Franc, underripe, it gets very bitter. You get one of its classic styles for underripe Cabernet Franc is sort of black currant leaf and things like that, and so again. The vintage itself is really quite critical here, but made in a good year and made by a good winemaker, you get a really lovely style of wine, and they get the ripeness that they need, so they lose that greenness, they lose that acidity. And I'm just going to serve myself a glass.
Go for it. Have a sip. Sorry, Jeremy's comment there. Aging potential. I think it'll be interesting in a couple of years, but it's mainly about the primary fruit and the perfume here. I think it's super perfumed, and it's mainly primary characters. So I think it will lose a lot of that freshness, a lot of those kind of perfumed aromas with time. It will develop slightly, but I think after a couple of years, it's great. In another one or two, it might have softened a little bit and maybe even become a little bit more harmonious, a little bit more together. But I think at the moment it's really aromatic and really nice and perfumed, and you'll lose some of that with time. So it's not built to last a hugely long time, I don't think, this one.
No, and so this producer, the Chateau de Villeneuve, it's been in the same family for 4 generations. So they've really had some time to sort of get to grips with it. They've had some great investment. It's actually a really lovely chateau to go and visit. They've put a huge amount of investment in, and as you'll see a lot in the Loire, is you get a huge amount of cellars that have all been cut into the limestone rock. So there's throughout the Loire, and I don't know if the Loire still sort of has that title, but they've got hundreds and hundreds of miles of chalk cellars running through a lot of the hard bedrock. And in this instance, Chateau de Villeneuve, they did have some beautiful old cellars which sort of went into disrepair. They started making the wines outside of the chateau. They've now since I think about sort of 2000 have really fully reinvested, and now their whole winemaking facilities back in the chateau and in the cellars. So it makes for an absolutely beautiful trip. And again, most of us know for Loire for cycling around, but I can't recommend it enough for a bit of a tour. Back to this wine in particular, I think, as Luc alluded to, so Cabernet Franc, it does take a little bit of time to sort of shake off its early sort of puppy fat, should we say. So it can be quite green. Somebody's put sort of quite dusty, medicinal notes. But I think one of them, it can have a slight sort of astringency feel to it. But as it ages and slightly develops, the nice thing is that you don't have such aggressive tannins as you do in Cabernet Sauvignon, such big tannins. And so you begin to develop a sort of silkiness, and it creates a really sort of pleasant mouthfeel, but then also still has that huge amount of fruit and huge amount of darkness. So it really is, for me anyway, I think Cabernet Franc's often buried in Cabernet Sauvignon or Merlot, and it's blended in. So to really be able to taste what a good Cabernet Franc can be like, and 2018 is a good vintage. I think again you need to be relatively careful in the very colder vintages where they haven't got to ripeness. You will get quite green style wines, but again you do need to sort of begin to pay for the privilege. This is sort of £17, and that's quite entry level really for a good Saumur-Champigny. But you can go up to, there's a couple of wines that are really beginning to get some serious following. Clos de Rougeard is the obvious one from Saumur-Champigny, and that's, you know, heavily coveted, and they make tiny amounts of it because it has the ability to age and has the ability to sort of develop. So it's something to just to add to the sort of repertoire that really Cabernet Franc is a fantastic style to, well, Cabernet Franc is a really interesting grape to see across the region, and it shouldn't just be crossed off the list for the sake of, you know, the wines of the red wines of Loire shouldn't be touched. They really are quite interesting, and they're quite coveted by the French and a lot of people who enjoy their reds, their lighter styles. They still have that complexity, because some of the dangers of having a light style of red is you lose that complexity. Again, John asking for a sort of food pairing. Well, I think this is probably, and that's one of the things about this Cabernet Franc from the Loire, it will go with absolutely everything. I mean, I can't think of, because you do have a certain amount of acidity, you've got a certain amount of weight, and yet there's nothing that will, you know, it's delicate enough so that it won't go way over and dominate some other dishes.
That's it. I think you've got to have a pretty good reason not to have things with saucisson, which, as Karen's alluding to, then. But I think it is all about that sort of charcuterie, those cured meats, but then loads of cheese. Just tried it with a bit of goat's cheese. Great. Equally with anything stronger. You could go pork, chicken, any of the sort of lighter meat dishes, I think. And yeah, super versatile, like you said, and pretty sophisticated, but picnic wine, I would say.
Wow, yeah.
All the way.
I'm coming on your pick.
Slightly chilled, but yeah, we'll keep very chilled, and then 2 hours later.
Yeah, that's the important point here is that these, you know, the tannins are light enough to be able to chill. I mean, these are perfect for, you know, they're not ice cold, but just, you know, like I said when I send the emails out, do try and keep this in a sort of cool location. I toyed with whether to say put it in the fridge for an hour before pulling it out, because you know, it has a refreshing quality, a little bit like a white wine or a rosé wine will do, but it's a red, so it will hold that quite well to a bit of a cooler style wine. Again, it's a wine that you'll see in quite a few restaurants that are served a red wine at lunch, because it has that ability to just not feel like you're overpowering. I mean, I'm just trying
to 13.5 here. Yeah, just looking myself. So yeah, I mean, there's bags of character there for 13.5. It's not super strong, not light, but
yeah. And you know, it's saying serve it at 12 to 15 degrees, which you know, is cooler than house temperatures of yesteryear, which was sort of 18 to 20 degrees, which is what they say, sort of, you know, serve Bordeaux and stuff like that.
Today, I don't know if anyone can hear. I hope it's not distracting at all, but the rain's really just started coming down behind us. Just had to decamp from outside to inside. But it's kind of, I think it's the indoor temperature now is great. I suggested to a couple of people maybe give it an hour in the fridge and take it out for the first part of the tasting. Maybe it's one of those. As long as it's not too warm, it's good. But it's interesting to try on a hot day, slightly chilled.
Yeah, and I think Brendan, what are the rules that you follow on chilling red wine? I think that probably not ice buckets would be my recommendation. I think probably an hour in the fridge, just to bring it down from, you know, our homes in general nowadays sort of sit at 21, 22 degrees is your average home, and you know, the summer it gets a little bit warmer, so you know, you don't want it fridge cold is 6 degrees or so, but you know, what we say is 12 to 15 degrees is a chilled red wine, because I think if you start going too far below that, the tannins really become aggressive, and you lose some of the fruit. So that's, you know, I think just play around, and you know, you just need to sort of see what it is that you prefer, as the level of being sort of the temperature. And I think also it will depend on the wine, because the basic scientific principle of it is that as you chill the red wine, the tannins become very dominant and the fruit becomes it falls to the background. So then all what happens is all you get is a very much sort of acidic and very tannic wine, and you lose the sort of back flavors, and you lose some of the sort of supple fruit flavors in the wine. So that's the sort of basics of it. So no more than an hour in the fridge, and then if it needs a little bit more, put it back in. But otherwise, that would be my recommendation. We're getting weather reports of what's going on in
Well, I'm more pleased with Dom's than anyone else's.
I'm very excited, Karen and Catherine. I'm heading down to the south of France actually tomorrow. So I'm going to stock up on Wild Boar Saucisson like it's going out of fashion. So I'm quite looking forward to that. Yes, and yeah. So I think what I'm just here we go.
I was going to say I just want to throw something in there. I don't want Dom to get away with his comment about sounding like a pirate every time he says the Loire. I'd quite like to unmute and hear that possibly in person, because sorry, that was a while ago. But
I think with the beard that's grown during lockdown, we'll put an eye patch on him and just get him to walk around saying Loire. There it is.
Please, there we go.
He's got the arm. He's fine.
Please, anyone unmute yourselves and let us know what you think of the wine. So we.
Yeah, no, do chat, guys. Come on. It's about you guys, apart from making fun of Dom. But
hi there.
Hey.
Hi.
Love the first two. Just don't get the last one. As somebody who grew up in a pub, there's a revelation, and had to clean ashtrays age 10. I just don't get the smoky, tobacco-y kind of bit that I get on the last one. But you know.
Yeah, no, that's fair assessment. Yeah, you get that smokiness, and I think that's something that's enticing for some. But obviously, if you've been clearing out ashtrays, it may bring back flashbacks, memories of.
Yeah. So I do have another question. Sorry, and then I'll shut up.
No.
And this is a bit of an odd one. If I drink something that is either off, too musty, I instantly burp. So
Right.
my husband gets me to taste every wine wherever we are, because if it's off, I get it instantly. And probably because as an interior designer, I've smelt too much damp. I don't know. But is that a normal reaction? And is there a reason why that happens?
I can't say that I've ever heard that as a.
Go on, Box.
I think it's very much a I think across the wine spectrum, everyone has certain sensitivities to certain things. You know, there's people that are very sensitive to sulfur in wines, and there's people that are very sensitive to acid in wines, and there's all sorts of sensitivity, and you're lucky enough to be sensitive to off wines. The reaction to burp right away, very handy. You know,
is that the wine equivalent of a crash test dummy? Maybe I don't know. That sounds terrible, but
does it mean there's too much sulfur?
No,
I don't think so. On this one is definitely certified organic, so it's minimal. Yeah, these guys are certified organic. Actually, the rosé was, and this one is. The Vouvray is not. I know that they're definitely operating organically, but they're not certified yet. So there'll be lower amounts. I don't think it would be a huge amount, but with the reaction to sulfur, I don't know. I've not heard the burping thing.
No, but then again, if you're an interior designer, you work a lot with sort of mood candles and stuff like that, which have sulfur in, so you'd be burping all the time. So
yeah, all the time.
From the sulfur issue.
It's just me. That's it.
Yeah, no, but hey, that's a great. You know, there are people that are very, very sensitive to cork taint and stuff like that, and there's other people that will Yeah, I think we've all been to a dinner party in our time when 3/4 of the bottle's gone and someone goes, "Is this wine off?" But obviously not when it's at your house, because you'd be burping by that stage, so we'd know that it's all good to go.
Yeah, there's the etiquette rule. Do you say something when your host has served you corked wine?
You have to. I'm afraid you have to. Even if they've done a big song and dance about it, it's unfortunate because it's really not good for you. A corked wine has chemicals that aren't particularly pleasant. So if everyone's drinking them, I've through my drinking career, I've unfortunately have drunk the corked wine during, let's put it down to my formative years, and you wake up with a much worse hangover than you ever would if it was still a clean wine. Whether there's pints of beer beforehand and afterwards and all the rest, it isn't relevant at this stage. But yeah, no, if it's bad wine, it's really not great, and you should. I think shouting it from the rooftops is the wrong thing to do, but just pulling them on the side and going, I think, and if they are the correct host, they should actually then be able to turn around and go, yes, you're absolutely right, I agree, and you hope that it's not their prize bottle that's not very excited, that they were hoping to show and tell, and it's the only one they've got, and you've just put their balloon excitement for the rest of their life. But there we are.
Yeah, and then you're never invited back. Anyway, thank you guys.
No worries away. We poured away our corked £30 wine from this tasting 2 weeks ago. Sorry. I think yes. Yes, there we are. Yes, yes, Catherine Mark, of course. We forgot about that one. The Australian one. There we are. We must.
Which one was that? That was the Coated Barrels. Was it the Chardonnay?
Yeah, the Barrels.
Yeah. Okay. We owe you one of those. I don't think we've sent anything yet.
Yeah. So Zoe, I think there's quantity and quality, and then there's corked wines. They're three very different worlds. It's a bit like saying port always gives me a hangover. It's got nothing to do with the 6 pints beforehand, and then the red, and then the white, and then the champagne, and it's always the thimble of port at the end of the evening that gets the blame. So, but yeah, I understand, Karen, and there's been some other people sort of saying, the reds of the Loire, especially this Villeneuve, I think they are. I think we're used to a red wine that gives a lot more on the palate very simply and gives a lot of excitement straight away. But I think the nice thing and I agree, this one still kind of in its infancy. It hasn't got the complexity that you'd expect to see. A couple more years would be lovely. Unfortunately, it's one of those things you get caught out in a vintage change when they run out of stock and you get this sort of new stuff. But for me, it's not an explosive in the mouth, super excitement wine, but it's actually just a really pleasant red without asking for a huge amount of body, a lot of alcohol burn, a lot of probably tannins and stuff like that. It has a little bit more excitement than Pinot Noir at half the price. And so I think, I'd say give it a chance. The reds of Chinon are lovely. A red Sancerre is also really, really pleasant. So if this hasn't tickled your fancy, don't be put off fully. That would be my final sell. So I know we're coming up to the hour mark. For those who didn't quite get on the call when I was sort of chatting earlier, I was saying that we are still going to be running 2 more wine therapy events. We've just pushed them a little bit further down the road, just because we've been extremely busy with Bordeaux en primeur, and there's lots going on. So and also the wines that we wanted to show, we're going to take a bit longer. So on the 23rd, we've got some wines, really cracking lineup of wines from South America, Argentina and Chile. And then on the 30th, we've got a really fascinating lineup of UK wines, and I know there's some people that poo-poo the UK wines, but we've got not only the sparkling, we've got a red and we've got a white, and I think it'll change some people's perceptions. We're actually going to put them together because of the wines and where we've got to get them and how we've got to get them. It's going to be a package of both. You won't be able to choose one or other. You've got to go all in or not at all, poker style. So, but we'll put those up not in the not too distant future. But the other one that I would, the other reason is that on the 15th, we are doing a wine tasting with the winemaker from Argentina, Per Se, who is making some absolutely extraordinary wines from not only Malbec, but also blends in with wine varieties. And he has kindly agreed to dial in with us. He's actually shipped some wines directly to us. They are 100-point wines for those who follow scores. Really, really impressive wines, and totally different from your sort of everyday Malbec, and so we are there, and they're quite pricey. They're sort of over £50 a bottle. So what we're going to do is we're going to get tasting samples sent out to you, 4 different ones in small little bottles. So admittedly, for most of this heavy drinking crowd, it might not be enough wine for you, so you might have to go out and get some extra wines. But it's really, we've got some extra other Malbecs to compare it against. Maybe we should put that as part of the deal. But yeah, do go and have a look, because it's going to be a really, really interesting tasting, and having the guy dial in from Argentina to kindly sort of take us through his wines will be brilliant. And we'll also be able to see he's made some top wines which have garnered rave reviews, and then he's just bringing out an Inseparable, which is his entry-level Malbec at sort of £18-20. Hasn't got into
that's the new one. That'll be really interesting. Right.
It hasn't got to the UK yet, so we've had it shipped over from Argentina specifically for this tasting. So it should be really great. So do have a look at that.
Yeah, those guys are fascinating. Definitely worth trying. A handful of the super interesting wines on the 15th. Is there such thing as withdrawal symptoms from therapy? I don't know if that's. Who knows? Yeah, anyway, if there is, that might get you through.
When there's alcohol involved, I don't know. I don't know if we're the wisest people to lecture on that, but
perhaps not.
Yeah. No. So, Karen, that's very kind of you, and we've really enjoyed it. It was we had to find a solution to losing our ability to talk to all of our favourite friends, which is what you guys are, and that's what makes Honest Grapes. It's everyone who's involved in it, and we do the wine part, but you guys provide the excitement, and that's why we're all here at Honest Grapes. Is it really sort of gets us excited? We're not just all about the wine sales. We're all about actually sharing our excitement and our knowledge, and hearing everyone's knowledge and excitement. That's what it's all about. So, I think.
Yeah, right. I think. If anyone has any more anything else they want to voice, to unmute themselves, any particular kind of hilarious anecdotes and on reactions to any kind of wine is definitely welcome. Any thoughts on the wines from tonight is also very much welcome. Please unmute yourself.
But guys, if there's also equally wine therapy, we're still working our way through the world and the countries. Some of the countries are harder to do, but if there's any particular regions that you'd like to see, or areas that you'd really like to discover, we're all for doing that. And August will give us a bit of time to try and find the suppliers and find the wines that would fit for that. And keep you guys discovering and keep you guys excited, because that's what it's all about. And we know, because we're lucky enough to be in the trade, but there's stuff that we learn every time. So Lebanese wine session, Peter. Well, that is that's totally possible. Tom's been around a couple of times, and with a bit of lead time, I think that could be good. Greek, yeah, absolutely. That's brilliant.
I'm keen on that one.
Yeah, so
there's almost too many options. That obviously there's so many things to pick from.
No such thing as too many options with wine. That's what the wine list's there for. But no, we're all for making new discoveries. So fizz versus sparkling. I'm not quite sure. Is that sparkling wines versus champagne, Catherine? I don't know. Fizz versus sparkling. I don't. Hungarian.
We'll get some clarification. Yeah.
Yeah, you need to go to a fizz. Well, we can put fizzy water and put some sparkling next to it, but I'm not sure. I'm not sure what that means. But so you love the Americans, yeah? The problem with Americans is always is cost. So we can do some fantastic tastings, but all of a sudden it's 250 quid for a Zinfandel back vintages tasting. So but like I say, and that's another thing, actually. I mean,
this
really
is good.
Do it's all coming here. The brilliant thing is that moon wine. Wow, I don't know if it's extraordinary.
This might be my favourite conversation so far. So we've had the suggestion from Nigel for Welsh wine. I think
that is all saved.
There might be some merit in the Welsh topic, and then Buckfast versus Blue Nun. I would happily host that one myself.
Luke
have me on Monday.
Buckfast delivered into the office, and I don't think he's been allowed to forget it.
I would insist that was a Monday night and Monday only. Be a great start to the week. This is good. We'll keep taking the suggestions.
The other thing is we're loving the suggestions. I'm not sure we're going to go to the moon and back for some wine, but we're drinking enough. We'll get there. But come on. The other thing is we could go to tastings that are probably more out of the ordinary wines in terms of price, but then you get smaller samples. So, we could do like this per se wine. So, it could be top chateau wines, but then everyone really gets basically it's a double shot measure that they get sent to them.
It would then be fascinating to see, before take a straw poll on that, how many people are getting through 3 bottles during the Thursday session.
I don't think everyone's going to put their hand up quickly.
No, well, the great thing about it being on Thursday is, of course, you can then have it on Friday and then even Saturday. It's absolutely fine. But I'd like to think there's 1 or 2 people, especially the larger groups amongst you, that are polishing it all off on Thursday. But that's probably an irresponsible thing to say. But I don't think it's impossible with some of these groups. We got 5, 6, 7 people sometimes.
Yeah, no. It's just interesting to see if people would be. I prefer to have wine that like they would carry on drinking and they can carry on enjoying it, or it's a step up. We've been to, Luke and I and maybe some others of you, where you get a very small thimbleful of some amazing wines, but that's all you get because it is extremely rare. But is that something that we'd like to sort of move towards? The price will still be the same. Like the per se, it's still going to be 60, 70 pounds. I can't remember what the exact price is, and we tried to keep it as low as possible. But would people prefer to try and take a sip of something that's ultra rare just to taste what it's like, or actually taste wines that they would prefer to buy and realistically have at their kitchen table, rather than things that are out of reach but they'd like to take a sip of? So it's one of those questions, and maybe we'll run a bit of a straw poll. Who knows?
Yeah, that was a personal question. I think you're absolutely right, Nigel. Answers on a stamped addressed envelope to Honest Grapes HQ, please, SW2. That is, we'll keep it. It's all anonymous, 100% anonymous. But
we'll name it.
It's all statistics. They go into the feed. Charlie figures out everything from. He's a data guy.
Yeah,
I'm not a data guy.
That's Nathan's job. I'm not a data guy. Okay, yeah, no, that's a good shout, Zoe. Maybe one expensive and some other bigger bottles. That could be really interesting as well. I
don't take the Scarlet.
Not spot the expensive. Oh, we've got some joiners in. No, they've unmuted. So, are you trying to say something, Mark? Yeah, he is. We're not hearing you, Mark. Oh, no, there we are. No, we're not hearing you at all. You are unmuted, but we're not hearing you. So I'm afraid that's a bit unfortunate. So,
do you know what we haven't done, Charlie? But before anyone sort of drops off, because obviously we're well over the hour, a final cheers for the 12 weeks. I know Tom isn't here to do the the traditional thing, but we haven't quite done a cheers. Everyone kind of glass up to the camera.
I'm waiting to say cheers and thank you, everyone.
Thank
Thank
you.
you very much indeed. Cheers.
Cheers.
Going to try and get a picture of this. Cheers, everyone.
Cheers.
Thanks very much for showing up. It's not necessarily the end of the session.
Like I say, we'll send out the new ones will be up probably next week, 23rd and 30th. So like I say, do join us for those. I know, Jeremy, you're very excited about the UK wine tasting, so we'll get. No, I'm gonna convert you. I'm gonna convert you. You know. Don't you panic. But guys, thank you so much for just joining us. It's really, it's what really makes us tick here at Honest Grapes is having the reaction of people about the wines, and just having people that really enjoy talking about wines, and sort of want to keep that sort of passion of I won't say wine drinking, but wine discovery alive, shall we say. So cheers. If anybody wants to carry on, I'm here. I'm not going anywhere. My children are still going to bed, so the longer I can stay here, the better.
That's fair, yeah. If anyone's got any questions. Do you know what? I've got a confession. Last week, I made a huge error. I said the football started at 8. I hope no one changed their plans for that. It's actually 8:15, so I had a whole 15 minutes on my hands. So to not watch the build-up.
Snack time.
So,
it wouldn't be interesting football anyway.
Say again.
I switched the mic. I was just going to say how actually, as a destination from the UK, the Loire Valley is absolutely gorgeous. There are chateaus, all these small tastings, big yes. There are wine chateaus and big estates, and there is the one-man band who has his two vats in his chalk cellar, and you can drive along the valley and just pull into all of these different places. Some, you feel like you should be wearing a suit and tie, and some, this guy is so pleased to see you, and he will absolutely fascinating place to go. But there is so much history there. It was English. Richard I and his mother were, I can't even remember her name. She's buried in the Loire Valley. It belonged to the Normans long before France was a country.
Yeah, absolutely. So
I just love that area and those wines. Yeah. So that's it. Sorry, that's what I wanted to say.
Well, thank you very much, Mark. Yeah, no, it is a great discovery location. Not only the wine, but the foods are brilliant as well. I've had a lovely gastronomic tour through the Loire, courtesy of the Loire Tourism Board. But so yeah, well, I haven't been sponsored by them, but it really is a lovely way to discover the Loire, and I think probably more welcoming than some of the bigger regions of Burgundy and definitely Bordeaux. Bordeaux's got some very lovely chateaus, but they're just a lot less accessible, and probably not as actually scenically attractive, I'd have to say. But again, it was really the place to be, from the 10th century onwards. So there's been some beautiful chateaus built there, and because all the stone is on site, as it were, from all the sort of chalk and well, not chalk, but all the limestone, these chateaus, I think probably if most of the classic pictures that we see of a turreted chateau with vineyards in front of, it comes from the Loire. It doesn't come from anywhere else. It really is the picture perfect place. So there we are.
And you've got the big 19th, 18th century, even 17th century sort of traditional French ones, so more manor house type things, which is where we stayed in Saumur. And there is a great wine tasting, I guess, it's more than the store, but like the wine information of Saumur and Saumur Champigny. And yeah, you get a flavour for what you like or don't like, and then you can decide where you want to go. It was absolutely fantastic. And
David, you say Italy beats France for food. Yes,
Yeah.
on a
Hang
basic.
on, Charlie.
Here we go. I knew
No,
this.
I'm gonna declare, like, obviously my surname's De Courcy, so I have a Norman heritage, but I have to agree with Mark there. The Loire is somewhere that I spent a lot of time growing up, so massive affinity with it, and huge childhood memories of my parents, you know, chugging down loads of Vouvray, which was pretty much the first. I mean, I thought white wine was actually called Vouvray. It was you know, it was a complete revelation to me that there was any other type of white wine. But if you go to Chenin Blanc, they have a fabulous little restaurant there. When we're all allowed out and do that, they've got a fantastic, I think it's called the Orchard. It's actually in this sort of Chenin Blanc estate buildings. They have a fantastic restaurant and wine pairing with it, which I would greatly recommend. And the Italians, fabulous food, fabulous wine, massive fan, but I don't think I'd pitch it above at least what you can get in Loire. And I'm biased, obviously.
Well, of course, yeah.
That's interesting, yeah.
Definitely got the reaction I wanted.
Excellent. Yeah, this is good. I don't want to will the opportunity to be locked down for maybe 6 entire months, and we can do this. We can do it properly. Maybe we can have some kind of massive epic battle. But that might be. It might take longer than that even.
Yeah, no, I'm a bit worried about Dom's McDonald's coming in there. So
no. I think you're wrong. I think Tom's written a piece for the Financial Times about that, hasn't he? How to spend it, and it all went back to McDonald's Chicken Select and Vouvray. That was the main bit. I don't know. You'll have to ask Tom about that one, Dom. I'm not entirely sure.
It's Captain Birdseye shouting at the screen on his sofa there.
That's a known goal, actually. Yeah, I mean it's a completely free hit. But good enough.
There we go, folks. So we are a couple of weeks of liver cleanse, but for those who can join us on the 15th, I literally really recommend it. And then the new tastings will come out 23rd and 30th. So do join us for those. And then August will be a little bit of downtime. And then I think the reality is I think you'll see us all on screen in September. I don't want to tempt fate, but I don't think we'll be anywhere near having group tastings in September. As much as I'd love to see you all in the flesh. Not quite literally, of course, but just to see you.
The thing is, though, what makes it more promising, that there wouldn't be spittoons involved with most of these guys. So I think that's the main hazard.
Yeah,
maybe
we'd have to take away the spittoons because they would be the problem. So there'd be no spittoons. Absolutely. So, guys, take care of yourselves. We'll see you. Some of you on the 15th, but the rest of you, we'll see you hopefully on the 23rd, 30th. It's been absolutely a joy. And until next time, people, take care. Do drop off those that need to. I'm just going to leave this open.
Thank you, Charlie.
Yes, sir.
I've just signed up for the 15th.
Right.
Excellent.
Can you put my delivery on hold?
Yes. Well,
I suddenly realised that I'm away for the next 10 days. I'll be back for the 15th, and I'll let you know when I delivered.
That's fine. I think, yeah, I'll note that down because, to be honest, the tasting, the way that the samples work is quite a technical method in that, for those who are still on the call, try not to fall asleep, but basically they take the bottles, they put it in a massive fish tank filled with argon gas so that there's no contact with the oxygen. They then pop the corks. They then take a very small pipette to check that everything's okay, and then they pour out all the samples into these bottles and still under argon gas and cap them and then send them out. So we send them out with a sort of 36-hour to 48-hour shelf life because we don't want to sort of change the structure of the wine at all. So it'll be very close on that. So yeah,
good point. So it'll be delayed.
Okay, that's fine.
Excellent. Cool.
So there we go.
Excellent.
Guys, thank you very much. Christian, thank you for getting your parents involved. I think your parents have got involved, didn't they? So Christian, so I think hopefully they enjoyed that. And everyone, have a very, very good evening. Take care. All right, I'm going to sign off. So I hope everyone's all right. Cheers, guys.
Cheers, everyone. Have a
All right.
lovely evening. We'll see you soon.
Cheers. Take
Cheers.
care, guys.